We've all heard this so many times throughout our lives. People talking about the real world, or people saying to someone who's a dreamer to get in touch with reality. And I was thinking about that kind of dialogue, those kind of words, and what does it really mean? Like, saying something is the real world is quite an arrogant statement, because if you explore the nature of reality, you'll soon find out that we're all decoding this quantum soup of reality in different ways, and we all see the world through vastly different lenses and through vastly different perspectives. And I'm reminded of the Morpheus quote from The Matrix, and I'll just read it to you because it's a phenomenal quote. Because when Neo asks, "What's real?" or "Is this real?" and Morpheus' response is this: "What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain." So, and that's reality. That's the truth. What we experience as real, these five senses that we experience, are electrical signals interpreted through our brain. Our brain is the decoding mechanism for this reality that we experience, and the essential state of reality is a soup of waveform, frequency, vibration, energy. Those are all interchangeable. It's decoded information. So to say that, we all have this real world that we have to get in touch with or whatever, it's kind of ludicrous. And it also implies the real world being the system, if you will, which is you go to school, you go to college, you get a good job, you get married, you have a house with a picket fence, like the typical American dream. And that is the real world, and you have to struggle, and you have to do all of these things, and you have to bow down to authority, and you have to accept things the way they are. That's what people typically imply when they say the real world. And it has a very negative, disempowering connotation when people say the real world. It's very cynical and harsh. It doesn't have that light and positive vibe to it. So it's like a collectively agreed upon form of mental prison. That's essentially what that is. It's a collective belief in that kind of hard life and that kind of obedience to authority. That's the real world that people talk about. And these kinds of people that use this kind of terminology are the ones that never even stop to ask the fundamental questions in life. So how do you know what is real if you've never asked yourself the fundamental questions in life? It's things like, what is the nature of reality? What is real? Exploring those questions. How does reality work? That is a fundamental question of life, because we're in this reality. You have to know the rules of the game in order to play the game. And then there's other fundamental questions like, who am I? That's kind of an important question, really diving into the question of who am I. And that will be very, very revelatory to explore that kind of question. Who am I? You're not your name, because you can have your name written on a piece of paper, and that's not you. You're not your experiences. Your experiences are your experiences. You're not your race. That's simply a label upon yourself. You're not your nationality. That's another label placed upon yourself. And nations are imaginary borderlines anyway. So explore those kind of questions. Who am I? Or what is humanity? What are we? Are we just physical beings, or are we spiritual beings having a human experience? Or are we characters in some grand, complex video game? Those are the essential questions of reality, and very, very few people ask themselves that. Especially those kind of people that say, I'm in the real world, but what is this real world, and what is real? You have to address those kind of essential fundamental questions and aspects of reality before you arrogantly say that something is real or not, or you're in the real world and other people are dreamers and things like that. And also regarding that mentality, I came up with this little quote that it's like, no one who has ever made a significant impact on the world has been a realist. You know? So everyone that has that realist mentality ends up being like cynical and normal and so average. Normal, I don't mean normal in a good way. I mean normal in terms of mediocre and average and doing nothing that is of great impact for themselves or the world at large. So it's in those dreamers those people that seem crazy at first. And this doesn't mean to like just sit there on your couch dreaming. You know, the people that make the biggest impacts, they have visions of things, of idealist things, but they work their ass off to get there. So they're grounded enough to be able to put in the work to materialize that, to bring their dreams to fruition. And so they're not saying that this isn't possible. That's another aspect of this. Like, anything is possible. Once you consider something impossible, you're making it impossible because you've created a box of possibility. So if you're creating boxes of possibility, it's very arrogant and you're limiting yourself, you know? So the people that have made the biggest impact, they are the dreamers. They visualize outside of the box. They don't have that box of possibility like, no, that's not possible. They don't dismiss things offhand. They have these visions. They have this insatiable urge to carry that out, and they work towards it. They are persistent, determined, dedicated towards those lofty goals. And that's why people always think those kinds of people are crazy until they actually bring their dreams to fruition. So, yeah, that's a little rant on realists and idealists from my perspective. So, yeah, it's like, you don't even know what's real. I don't know what's real. The Sanskrit term for this reality is Maya, and it's like roughly translated as like illusion or a stage show or something like that. And if you look into the simulation theory, which Elon Musk is actually a proponent of, that chances are we live in a simulated reality, because intelligent life is bound to create some sort of simulation, and that simulation would be indistinguishable from the real reality or base reality. So chances are that there's an infinite number of simulations and one base reality. So if you do the statistics, statistically speaking, we're most likely, by a very, very large percent, most likely we are in a simulated reality. So what's real? To think you definitively know what is real, or to call something the real world, it comes from a very conceited place, and it comes from putting everything in a box, and it's ultimately fear-based because you're afraid of going outside that box. What lies outside of your box of possibility? You know, the unknown can be scary for a lot of people. Yeah, so embrace everything, embrace the mystery, because who knows what's real? Just live your life, you know, ask yourself the questions and spread love to those around you, those who you directly experience in your life, you know, make them better, inspire them, lead by example, because that's what it's all about. All right, peace, much love, and one love, baby.